amazing technical difficulties, I bring to you another guest from Los Angeles, the wonderful Sarah Ehlinger. Welcome to the show, Sarah.
Hey, Julian. I'm so happy to be here.
Well, I'm happy to have you on, Sarah. And Sarah does a lot of work with people building their brand online and bringing purpose to people. And we're calling this episode Three Steps to Being Less Confused About Your Business, because that state of confusion is really one thing that bothers a lot of people, doesn't it, Sarah? Would you like to tell us a bit about what you're doing with your people?
Yeah, I would love to. So right now currently I have a digital product business. So I sell Canva templates and stock photography. And that was a pivot for me after I've been in the branding, design, marketing space for almost 20 years. And what I noticed after I started this digital product shop is that people were still, they had all the tools, they had easy tools, not just for me. There's plenty of other people selling similar tools out there too. They would have these tools, but I would see them still getting hung up. They're still getting hung up and not like taking the steps and not doing the things in their business. And they were really letting themselves get confused by things. And that was for a couple of reasons. One one is a mindset piece. I think we really hide behind that confusion a lot of times. So it's a lot easier to be like, I don't know what my colors should be, or I don't know what my fonts should be, or what my website should look like, or what my aesthetic on Instagram should look like. And it's super easy to hide behind that for weeks or months, or I mean, some people will do it for years, and just keep monkeying with it. Um, but there's also just like a lot of confusion, when you're building your personal brand about like, where do I start in my, me and my business, like, where do we start and stop? So, along with the digital product business that I have, I also work with clients one on one in a brand strategy coaching and mentorship capacity. And we work through all of these things and kind of get them out of that confusion and that overwhelm so they can, really start taking off in their business and their brand.
And can you give us an idea of, how do people go about branding themselves? What should they be doing and what are they not doing?
Well, it's interesting. So it's a loaded question because I'm like the branding expert who will frequently say to my clients, like, it doesn't matter. Like the traditional things we think about with branding, because when people start thinking about branding, they start thinking about logos and fonts and colors and all and
Oh, that
brand
stuff, yeah.
photography and all of that stuff. And when you're building a personal brand, like that stuff really doesn't matter at first. What matters is you figuring out who you are, who you want to serve, what you're even offering, what the transformation is that you're providing, how you're providing that transformation. So it's a lot more important to really start with that foundational stuff. And if you can really nail that and get that solid, and while you're nailing that and getting that solid, you can be posting, you can be, getting clients, you can be getting experience, you can be doing all of this stuff. Once you have that stuff really solid and you really know your who, what, why, how, then you can go and step into like, okay, now I really know what I do want my aesthetics to look like. And that process becomes so much easier. But, a lot of times, especially with personal brands, people jump into that other piece first. And then that leads
Yeah.
them to all sorts of confusion, unfortunately.
It's one of those things, Sarah, where it's something that seems like it's important, and you can trick yourself into spending so much time with things like logos and
Hmm.
colors and all of that, and you can really think, no, I'm doing work. This is what I should be doing, and it's just a complete waste of time because you haven't really understood what your brand is, or what you are when people see you online. Like, what is the message that flashes in their head? And what is the ideal prospect? Who are you speaking to? What is their frustration? What do they want? And how can you build a bridge to get them to what they want?
Yeah, and I think the thing that people forget, I mean, and listen, it's so easy to do that and get stuck behind that stuff because we're told to do that, first of all. And second, it's like, it's safe. Like, that's our brains being like,
Exactly.
this is
Yeah.
a safe thing to fixate on right now. It's a lot
Mm,
safer doing that than it is going out and trying to find those first clients and trying to validate an offer and trying, that is scary. So it's safe to
mm.
hide behind that stuff. The thing that I talk to my clients about a lot of times is, um, and this is why I said, like, aesthetics are important. Like, I love aesthetics, and obviously they are. You're like, a lot of us are visual people. They matter. But when it comes to building a brand, like really standout brands, what they are doing is they are tapping into your emotions. They are touching you on a deep emotional level. So, all of the stuff I talked about before, the foundational piece, that is the stuff that is going to start to help you get to those emotions that are going to help you touch other people, touch your audience, get raving fans, get clients who, can't wait to work with you even before you have something to offer. That is emotional based. That's not because of a logo or a font or a color, You're talking to them on an emotional level. And so when you think about building brands, especially a personal brand, that's where you need to start.
Even products, like sometimes we fixate on, do I have the right product, or just say you're selling courses, or and
Mhm.
I've seen people actually successfully market and sell when they haven't even worked out what their product is, because they know that they need to speak to the people like on that emotional level that you talk about, where they show that they're here to help, and they kind of form the product later on. Like it's, and another thing you said, how we fixate on these things that kind of are safer and stop us from actually putting ourselves out there. Um, so what do you recommend people do? What's the first thing they do? Do they need going live, or do they need to start working out their message? What if I'm a business owner and I'm completely confused and I need help? What would you say the first thing you that I should be looking at?
Yeah, I think, the answer nobody wants to hear, it depends, but I think I like to call this, I work with my clients to create something called the brand spark. So the brand spark is different depending on the person. So what the brand spark is it's that one thing that's going to kind of tie everything else together and help you show up more consistently, show up more easily. And so the brand spark could be a bunch of different things. The brand spark could be your actual offer. Like, maybe your offer is super unique. In your niche, like nobody else is really offering something like that. Like, you have like certain features or benefits that are just really, really unique to you. That could be your spark, and you could build everything around it. Maybe your spark is like, say, maybe you're a service provider or a consultant or a coach. Maybe your spark is like your technique, the how you deliver a transformation, or that actual transformation. Then you can start to build everything around that spark. Maybe your spark is actually you. Like, we see this now with YouTube personalities and TikTok personalities. There's some people who just have such a magnetic personality that that's their spark, and they need to lean into that. Like, maybe they need to lean into their humor or their empathy or their, so really, I think it's important for people to sit down, like at their step one, is to sit down and be like, what is that thing? Like, what is that one thing that's going to set me apart from everybody else? And that's why I say it depends, because your spark, Julian, is probably different than my spark. And it's like just a matter of figuring out what that is. And then you start building around that, because then my next step that I would take people on is then to start honing your messaging. So, really starting to hone in on like 3 to 5 key messages that all revolve around that spark. And so, those 3 to 5 messages could be things that are, about where your customer is at in their journey. It could be about explaining things about your product or service that are super unique. It could be, so it really is, once you kind of figure out that spark or essence, then it's like, okay, now how can I develop 3 to 5 key messages and just keep showing up and repeating those over and over and over so that people start to recognize and identify you with those core messages. And that's how you really start to build that really strong brand foundation, because people suddenly are going to start associating that message specifically to you over time.
Yeah, that's fantastic, Sarah. I love that. And the message and the repetition. So working out what it is so that when people see you showing up online, they're thinking, oh, this is that person that does this, that, and that. And it's constantly repeating that message.
Yeah,
And
and the repetition is really tough.
yeah, yeah. And can you give us an example of, say, somebody that you know of that had sort of core messages and what those messages were and what business they were in so that people can sort of visualize what you're saying?
Well, I think you can think of like any of the popular brands that you like. The first one that's coming to my mind for some reason is like Tom's or Warby Parker. And so, you know, I think it's easy to be like, oh, it's glasses or shoes. But that's not actually the first thing that people think of when they think of those companies. When you mention those companies, you think there's two things you think of in addition to like what the actual physical technical product is. And one is stylish, like trendsetter stylish. And the other one is giving back and like being like more, having it your money go further because you're contributing to a greater cause. And that's a direct result of them because they're not showing up in their messaging and just talking about like, oh, these glasses are great because they have this feature and they are this light and they, they do this sort of thing, or these shoes have this type of padding. Like, that's not their thing. They're talking about like you buying into a brand because you fit a certain style and aesthetic and you also want to give back. Like brands that would so if we stay on the shoe analogy, brands that talk about features would be someone more like Nike, although they also would, talk more about like greatness and, they talk about how great athletes are and then how great you can be because you're using their product. So those are some examples of like bigger brands to like help your listeners wrap their minds around like when you show up and keep repeating those messages, you start to understand what the brand is about beyond what just the product is that they're selling.
Excellent. And Sarah, what's the first port of call for people that are interested in speaking to you and learning more? Is it a course that you have?
Yeah, so the best way to work with me, so first of all, my Canva templates and stock photography is on my site, bebrandspankingyou.com. If you want to work with me one-on-one and start this process, the best way to do that is to schedule a Spark session. So this is just a 60-minute session, a one-off session. They've been amazing. Like I'm always flabbergasted at how much we can accomplish and how much insight my clients can get in just 60 minutes. So that's the Brand Spark session, and those are at bebrandspankingyou.com/spark. So that's the best way to start working with me right now. Yep.
Okay, awesome. So that is bebrandspankingyou.com/spark, and check out all of Sarah's stuff on there. What are the Canva templates used for?
The Canva templates are specifically for online business owners to do all of their marketing assets. So, it's everything from creating your lead magnets to graphics for your emails to social media graphics. And then also, if you do have a course or clients that you work with, um, there's graphics for creating all of those materials. So downloads for like PDF downloads for your clients, or even PDF downloads for lead magnets, workbooks, ebooks, cookbooks, anything like that. And the great thing about them is I do them in collections. So, for instance, you could buy the lead magnet and workbook ones, and then maybe later on decide, oh, I really want to be promoting this on Instagram. And then you could buy coordinating templates to go with that. So, like, everything aesthetically matches and is coordinated. It's sort of like instant branding without having to
Yeah.
go through the brand process, which is great.
I didn't know you could do that. So, is that for you can sell a template for Canva, and then people who are using the free version of Canva can pay for your template and just have
Yep.
that come over into their free account?
Yeah. So you can sell them third party, which is what I'm doing, and then they just get a link, and you get the link, you click it, it adds it right into your account like a design. And it's really handy. It's really great. The thing that I have found, and the reason why I started doing them, is that um people get into, like, Canva is for everybody. It's amazing. I love Canva.
It's
It's for
good.
everybody. But the fact that it's for everybody means that there's just like so much in there. And so and not just me, like there's plenty of other third-party template people too, and their templates are fantastic also. And what I have found is buying those third-party templates like that are sold in collections, it just takes all of that time and overwhelm out of like scrolling through Canva for hours and hours and hours trying to find the right templates to, and then trying to adjust them to work for what you want them to work for. And then like, okay, well now, but I want this one to match that one, but now there's not one that matches that. So it's like, this is just a really great way to save so much time and frustration in Canva.
Interesting. I'm going to have to look into that. Might have to up my Canva game.
I know, you might just fall in love.
I always try to make things myself, but if it doesn't look good, I'll end up paying, which is most
Yeah,
of the
I
time.
mean, hey, listen, I've been a designer for years and years and years, and a lot of times I even start with a template because I'm just like, I don't need to start from scratch. Nobody should have to start from scratch, you know?
Yeah, much easier to modify.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, lots of interesting info. Thanks for coming on, Sarah. And guys, head over to bbrandspankingyou.com and have a chat with Sarah. Sarah seems like a fantastic person to speak to. If you are in that state of overwhelm where you're not sure what the next steps are, your brand and clarifying your message and all that stuff is so important. And it just transforms people when I see them do it. It takes you to the next level, and people respond to your business so much more
Yeah.
positively, don't they, Sarah?
Yeah, it really does. It makes such a huge difference.
Wonderful. All right. Well, thanks for coming on, Sarah, and thanks for watching and listening, everyone. And I'll see you very soon on another episode.